welcome the sun, the clouds and rain, the wind that sweeps the sky clean and lets the sun shine again. This is the most magnificent life has ever been. Here is heaven and earth and the brilliant sky in between. Blessed is this life, and I'm gonna celebrate being alive. Blessed is this life, and I'm gonna celebrate being alive. Blessed is this life, and I'm gonna celebrate being alive.
Well, welcome everybody to our latest episode of Stories of Transformation, brought to you by I Am the Guru, where we are inspiring beings everywhere to be empowered on their journey, trust their inner knowing, honor their truth, and embrace the guru within. And today, my very special guest is Malcolm Saunders. And Malcolm's mission is to deeply connect people to their food, and is the author of the book Elixir Life, Modern Nutrition Meets Ancient Herbal Wisdom. What a great title. He's worked in the field of food and nutrition for close to 20 years and is the owner and creative visionary of the Light Cellar here in Calgary, which is one of my favorite places in this city. And so Malcolm is a food and nutrition expert, public speaker, and intuitive chef who specializes in sharing the alchemy of superfoods and super herbs. Through his books, videos, and workshops, he has helped thousands of individuals recreate and improve their relationship to food. What a great mission. And exciting work, for sure. Malcolm has expertise and passion for creating and teaching others how to make energizing and healing foods, including chocolate, elixirs, and ferments. And Malcolm's desire is to inspire others to live and eat from a space that honors the sacredness of all life, illuminating the power of influence our food choices have on ourselves, other beings, and the planet we live on. I so love that intro. It's such a beautiful, inspiring mission that you have to help so many people. And as I was saying, the Light Cellar, being one of my favorite places in Calgary, over 7 years ago, when I first received a diagnosis of cancer and was embarking on this path of holistic healing, I really didn't know much about superfoods or herbs or anything, because that wasn't really my lifestyle so much. I mean, I was vegan, vegetarian, but that was for different reasons. And and so I found the Light Cellar, and wow, it was incredibly helpful for me because your staff there are so knowledgeable about many things. And I just wasn't able to get that help from anywhere else in Calgary. And I was reading lots of books and learning about different holistic approaches to healing cancer. And then I thought, but where do I find this stuff? So anyways, I really want to just acknowledge and appreciate you for having such an impact on my journey of healing.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so thank you. So you've got a really interesting story of transformation. And usually as I was saying to you when we were talking about coming on this interview, that normally I'm interviewing people with kind of an opposite experience where, they're part of the corporate world, had this 9-to-5 job where they felt really enslaved and not able to really control their life. And so they give it all up and they become their passion. And you had the opposite lifestyle where you were this traveling hippie and person of the earth, and not in one of these really enslaving jobs. I remember you saying in your talk once, drumming on the street, for money.
Yeah.
And
I didn't have any jobs,
right.
I avoided them at all cost.
Yes, exactly. And so, and of course you went from that to having a really incredibly successful international, essentially, business now, because you're having online products, and that's coming up for you, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I saw.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has been an interesting journey, and I loved how you phrased that. I had never really thought about that in that way, but I did.
Yeah.
I definitely started by trying to kind of, live outside of the world. Didn't like how things were, and wanted to create a different reality for myself, and chose an alternate path. And I mean, we'll get into it during our conversation, I'm sure, but my eventual kind of realization is, as much as I was trying to avoid the world and not be a part of it, it was still having an impact on me and my life. So we can't ever really truly run away in that sense. And even if we do, the realization I came to is, well, how can I have more of an impact and help change the world? And what I realized, in order to do that, actually be in the world, kind of play the game, and change it from the inside. So that's what I've been doing.
Sweet. And very successfully, I might add.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey. It's certainly not easy, and success is relative, and we have our ups and downs, and times when we're higher and times when we're lower. And
sure.
Yeah, I'm always checking in. It's like, for myself and with my wife, it's like, okay, is this really what we want to do? Anytime it's kind of like that next big step or that next big leap, or are we still really passionate about this? Are we still really committed to this? Because I don't want it just to become a thing I do and kind of get lost. And then, so always that self-check-in.
Yeah. It sounds like, you're really being very intentional about what you're creating, and reevaluating that on an ongoing basis. So
totally. And that's why I really super appreciate, and I need to hear, like someone like yourself reflect that back, that, that there is that value, and it really has impacted your world, and it's for the better. So that's my fuel.
Great. So why don't you start, Malcolm, by giving us a little bit of an idea or a picture of what your life was before the Light Cellar? Because I mean, you've started there already with a little bit of that, but I'd like you to expand on that.
Yeah, after college, I actually gave everything away. Kind of follow my new heroes. What were once guitar players and drummers and singers now became the monks and the yogis. So I wanted to pursue that path and see what it was all about. So literally gave everything away, just had what I had in my backpack, and hit the road and visited various ashrams, meditation centers. I lived in California at one. It was the SRF, actually, the Self-Realization Fellowship, Yogananda's place. Because serendipitously, I'd been reading his book, and I just moved to Vancouver, and a block and a half away from my house was the meditation center.
How convenient.
So I'd go like 3-4 times a week, and I lived there for about a month and a half, and then I moved immediately to California to go stay at the center because I was just so drawn by it. And so I was there for, again, another like month and a half. But what was so disappointing to me was, some of my duties at the ashram were to, I'd either work in the kitchen or I'd be in the garden. And if I was in the garden, some of my duties were to, fertilize the avocado and the citrus trees. Well, in order to do that, we had to don gloves and suits and gas masks and,
Right. Hello.
These bags of fertilizers that have California cancer warnings. And I remember raising this question of just like, well, this just doesn't make sense, And the answer was like, oh, don't worry, we're on a spiritual experience, this earth is transcended. And I was like, well, wait a minute, but we're here. So anyways, I left there and ended up on Salt Spring Island, where a community that we're following, Baba Hari Das, and there was that whole connection to, Ram Das, It's Here Now, Bhagavan Das, Be Here Now, Bhagavan Das, he did the It's Here Now. And that was much better. It was like, a great community and organic gardening. Everything just seemed a little bit more aligned. But as soon as I arrived there, someone was telling me about Vipassana. It's this place where you go and you do this 10-day silent retreat. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds about right. So anyways, at Salt Spring for a while, and finally the opportunity came around to do a Vipassana. And I mean, man, the first one, I was like, absolute, the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, but also very inspiring, because like, why is it so tough to just sit with myself for 10 days in silence? Yeah, going within. So that was inspiring, as well as just the potential of a practice that focus. So the next 2 years, I pretty much did nothing but sitting and serving Vipassana. And I would leave once in a while. I'd come back home to Calgary, stay with mom, work for a month at a health food store, get a little bit of money, go traveling again. And yeah, I got the opportunity to do a few tours with Goenka when he came through North America, saw him in India and Burma, and just really deeply immerse in that practice. And at the time had fantasies of, this was still me on my train of retreating from the world, right? Of just like, okay, if I can't change the world, I can change myself, and I can make myself better. And I was, but as I mentioned, the world was still having an influence on me. I mean, you still have to pay taxes, you still have to buy stuff, right?
Yeah,
you have to get a job once in a while, which I had various ways and means of doing that. But what I also noticed within that community and others was, it was almost kind of this prophetic sense of, this day and age is about being in the world. It's not about, becoming a monk. It's about being a householder, raising a family if that's your choice, but, really having what they call, like a right livelihood, something that's fulfilling and has meaning and purpose. And so that was kind of in the back of my head, and that was affirmed when ended up, meeting my partner and then having a child, and then it was like, okay, I gotta be the provider.
Right. Some additional responsibilities here.
Yeah. And so then that, I was at this crossroads of do I go to baking school or do I study nutrition? And, food had been a thread of mine ever since I was 16, because, again, from those environmental aspirations, I became a vegetarian. And, again, there's lots of books and documentaries that kind of support that ideology. And I was like, well, if this is one thing I can do it, right? But the trick is, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I was raised standard American diet. The extent of my culinary abilities and my palate was, I knew how to make microwave pizza, Pop-Tarts, grills, sandwiches.
Yeah.
My favorite meal of the day were breakfast cereals. I would happily eat those, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They were quick, easy, and they tasted good. But you don't go very far on Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms.
No.
So very,
still hungry in a couple hours. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I if I'd kept on that trajectory, absolutely, I would have developed diabetes. I already had hypoglycemia, going from meat potatoes to just potatoes and lots of sugar. I was having blood sugar crashes, like fainting spells, just because I had no idea what I was doing. But I was committed to it. So that was the very beginning of, starting to look at food, changing my diet. But it took a long, long time. And, I took a lot of inspiration from, the yogic path and studying Ayurveda, and which they recommend, more of like that sattvic vegetarian, meditator type diet. And kept pursuing that. And when I met my, now wife, Laura, like her family, she comes from a family that was into health. Like her mom in the 80s was making cashew milk, right? Before anyone knew what that was.
Right.
Her family, her brothers had a lot of allergies. So there was a lot of alternative type eating. And so that was when I met her, it was a huge kind of influence and kind of a next leg up in my kind of ability to approach it in a more helpful way. Learned a lot from her and her mom, and solidified that as a path I wanted to take, knowing food is one of the most transformative things that we have, not only from the standpoint that I've been learning about in yoga and meditation, how food affects mind as well as it affects body, but also from that environmental standpoint, how it affects, our food choices literally affect our external environment. So really have pursued that ever since. Now I'm not a vegetarian anymore. I've been on my own journey. What I've realized, it's not so much a plant versus animal. It's really more so about the system that it comes from. So we can talk about, chicken or apples, and my first question will be, well, what kind of apples, what kind of chicken? They can come from two different systems, two different worlds that make them actually two completely different foods, nutrient wise, how it affects you, how it affects the environment. So it's not a plant versus animal, it's the system. Is it kind of a small local scale, or is it a big kind of a mass industrial scale, like growing soy, canola, wheat, these types of things, monocrops. Not good for the environment, not good for us, just the same as, factory farmed livestock or animal food. Not a good thing, but if we can source it properly, then that's when it becomes really nourishing.
Yeah.
So there you are. That was a bit of a long-winded answer. What was the question again?
Well, it was great to hear, kind of where your beginnings were, where you were coming from.
Right.
So, yeah. So tell us now about like the birth of the Light Cellar. Because you mentioned that, of course, getting into a relationship with Laura and then having children, you needed to provide for your family, and so that was a bit of a catalyst for you, it sounds like, to actually have a more steady kind of an income.
Right. Totally.
But how did you get, how did the Light Cellar come to be? And because being an entrepreneur and having, going into a business like that, that's a lot of responsibility. It takes a huge financial commitment. Like, how did you go from the mindset that you're operating in to having like this full-fledged business?
Right. Yeah, well, it definitely evolved over time, and possibly if you'd shown me a picture of what it is now back then, I might not have taken it,
Yeah.
So it all kind of came slowly and gradually, but so I ended up going to nutrition school, and I'd done a ton of my own like study and work, but choosing to do that kind of solidified, this is the direction, this is the field that I want to, play in, work in, have an impact on the world, and for myself as well. And going through that program, it's almost 100% geared to, you're going to come out and be a nutritionist, and you're going to sit down with clients one-on-one, and you're going to guide them through meal plans, this kind of thing. Going through that, I was like, no, that's not me. Like I knew that I wasn't going to do that. I didn't want to do that. Didn't necessarily know what else I was going to do, but all I knew is I had a passion for it, and I loved actually making stuff in the kitchen. So ever since, I had become a vegetarian, and Mom says, well, that's great, but you're on your own.
Right.
I was now responsible for all my meals. I was, I took the easy route first with packaged food, and quickly, had learned about this idea of whole foods, and I was like, okay, I got to start making things from scratch, and then got a lot of experience working in kitchens, in these retreat centers. So love preparing food. That's always been a passion of mine. And I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something there. I was really into raw foods at the time. And so I went and lived at, first I went to study. It was like a live-in, study, work kind of relationship at the Tree of Life down in Arizona. And it's so key. It's something that's kind of missing in our culture and our society of kind of direct apprenticeship. Like to do 10 months of study, even, the nutrition study, and read some books, and there you go consult with people, like I know, like Wild Rose College, for instance, they have their you go through 2 years, then your third year is more that like practicum, you spend time in the clinic with someone that's been doing it for 40 years, and you get a much deeper perspective that way. We need more of that, the idea of the apprenticeship. So,
and when you were there, did you study directly with Gabriel Cousins?
Oh yeah. I ended up living there for almost a year and a half, actually.
Wow.
So lots of contact and just being immersed in that world. So yeah, I mean, that's one of my biggest kind of pieces of advice to anyone is like, whatever you're into, whoever you're into, try and, go to its depth, right? Become that expert, go as deep as you can, and it's, being around someone, working with them, getting that knowledge. So I've done that at that time. And when I left, it was Laura's mom who had been into, she's also an entrepreneur, more in the, her husband or Laura's dad, had, engineering business. So that was mostly where she played in, but she was really big into going to seminars, whether it be at marketing or, whatever it was. So I got into this world of like, the seminar world, and that was kind of fun. And I was like, oh, this is neat, like I've almost since become a bit of a, personal development, this kind of a, I don't want to call myself a junkie, but, I love those worlds of going to these seminars and everyone's all pumped and rah, rah, rah. Not only on just the pure like be a better person side, but like the skill side, right? Like you do marketing seminars and they can just, or public speaking trainings or whatever, and they can just be as like, like pump you up type of. So I really loved going to those, and I saw, for me, I was like, wow, like that's what I would love to do. I'd love to teach, about nutrition and run seminars. So when I came back to Calgary, I started to run classes, and, it's still at this time, like Laura and I, though we had, when we got together, we lived with her parents in the basement because, again, neither of us had money or any kind of direction other than we were both traveling and in that flow, just young, early in life. And so we did the whole work at Tree of Life for a year and a half, came back to Calgary, lived with her parents again, and our daughter was probably going on 2 at that time. So we started doing seminars in the basement. She was doing colonics, and I was doing the nutrition. So we had this joke, it was like the feed 'em and clean 'em kind of business.
Yes. Funny.
And so after a little while of that, we ended up getting our own place. And then in the basement, we opened up, we had a storage area. We converted the basement into a teaching kitchen and then a little production kitchen where I'd be making chocolate. So, those little cups that folks can get at the Light Cellar, that was the very first thing I created. Have those available. And as I was teaching, I teach people, okay, here's how you ferment, here's how you make chocolate, here's how you, eat raw foods, this kind of thing. And here's some really cool ingredients. Folks were into it. I mean, I would maybe like on a great day, I had like 6 or 7 people. So it was pretty small. But, people would be inspired to like get the ingredients. And then a week and a half later, like, yeah, that was awesome. I've been making my chocolate, but I need more ingredients. So we moved out on our own and we decided to open up 1 day a week where people could come by. Maybe there'd be a class, but either way, they just come, they hang out, chat, pick up some ingredients. And so that was the beginning of what was then turning into a store, but we never envisioned or imagined at that time. It was just like, oh, we're teaching, we're making stuff, and people can drop by. But word of mouth became a bit of a barrier at some point, about a year in or even less, where like, oh man, I love what you offer. It's so great. I keep trying to tell my friends, but I think it's a little weird. I'm like, you're like my superfood dealer. I tell you, like, your house, you got to go around the back, you got to knock twice.
Right.
And so, it was clear that people were excited and interested in this, but there was a bit of a barrier. And plus, at some point, we were needing more separation just from our home life, because it'd be a Wednesday afternoon and someone would call and like, hey, I know you're only open on Sundays, but, I'm in the neighborhood, they drop by. So people were coming by at all times. And we ended up moving houses, smaller house, but beautiful. It was right on the river. And we ended up, committing to this commercial space. And it was one of those moments of like, okay, is this really what we want to do? And we did, and we still kind of kept it lifestyle. We're open 4 days a week, Thursday to Sunday. And for the first year, I had 1 staff member. And he just used to read. He would read books until a customer would come in, and I'd be around, I'd be busy in the back doing this, doing that. And so it's just slowly grown in that way, but it's always been from this base of really wanting to teach people how to make food. I like to say it's like the how and the why of food nutrition, right? Become so like disconnected from our food. We become really confused about food nutrition, and I'm really passionate about kind of now helping people get in tune with their own intuition, right? it's like you say, I am the guru, right? We are gurus. No one knows our body better than us. And it doesn't mean that there's not a place for a practitioner, for a guide. Absolutely, 100%. That is super helpful and really required, but ultimately it comes back to us and our bodies. No one knows better than us what we need to eat in any given moment. So that's the first piece. And then the second piece is, okay, well, I know I got to eat, kale or whatever it is. How do I prepare it? How do I make it? And I'd spent so many years trying to teach myself these skills. I'd love to help fast track that for people. And then the other part to it is just the access to the foods. When I moved back from Arizona, Calgary, it's always been kind of cattle country and this type of thing. And I've been leaving ever since I could, because the grass always has been greener.
Right.
Go to California. At some point there was a shift. It was like, oh, wait a minute, like here's the opportunity, right? Like we can stay if everyone's not leaving all the time, we can actually create community. And so I actually love Calgary. I never imagined in a million years I would say that, being born and raised, and even up it was like in my mid-20s, even when Laura and I were still doing what we're doing, we're like, no, yeah, we're just doing it for now. We're going to move to BC. We're going to go here. We're going to go there. And then there was a shift where we consciously decided to stay, and it's like my favorite place to be. I absolutely love Calgary.
Yeah. And I love what you said about that too, Malcolm, that here there are a lot of people who could really use your support, and maybe not, maybe more so than in California or BC, where this kind of a lifestyle has been a little bit more sort of in the culture in those places. And so
yeah, totally. And from a business perspective, I can see it now, although at the time I didn't, like those are crowded markets, right? Like there's more people doing that. And if you can be that person to step up, step out and go, here it is, and create it. There's more opportunity for success. Because in Calgary, when, I'd come back from Arizona, was working with a lot of the superfoods, getting exposed to herbs, this kind of thing. And it was a bit of an epicenter. And then coming back to Calgary, there was one store in Calgary that sold unroasted or raw cacao powder, and it was $55 a pound, right? It's just like, so had connections, I knew I could sell it for 54. No, just joking. I buy it. I bought it bulk, and I think my original price might have been $12. Was what I was selling it for. So again, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm here to make a big profit. I had to learn. I was like, wait a minute, like $12, like
I make $1. Yeah.
So I've had to learn kind of that business side, and it's balanced by, okay, what's practical and what's fair and heart centered.
Yeah. So hearing you say that, my next question to you would be, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced along this road? Because even in the share you just offered, thinking that making a profit of $1 was enough, and you're coming from your heart center. So how did you, I'm assuming that was a bit of a challenge for you initially, is to really get into this business mindset and understand about how to be profitable and successful. So if you want to expand a little bit on that, and then offer any other challenges that you found over the years in building up this business, and also transitioning from that lifestyle that you had before.
Right, for sure. Yeah. So definitely lots of learning with the business. The numbers thing, came not too bad. Like there's kind of set margins that I know I don't have to overthink it. It's like, okay, here's, most businesses need minimum 30% margin, right? In that sense, like to cover operating costs and, cost of goods, etc. So we generally follow certain kind of templates for it. Probably actually, honestly, the biggest challenge I've had in running a business is becoming a business owner, and therefore having staff. Like, one of the reasons why I am an entrepreneur, because I never wanted a job. I avoided them at all costs. I didn't like their limits on my freedom. I didn't like it, for so many reasons. Then to turn around and now employ people and offer a job that has been a challenge for me. Again, just, wanting to kind of maybe appease to, other people's sense of freedom and this and that. And I mean, just to give an example, I remember early on I had one staff, she's like, yeah, I want to go to Hawaii for a month. And I was like, sure, that'd be awesome. Like, great. See you back in January. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, who's going to cover your shifts? Right. Like,
right.
So I ended up working like double time, and so it's just kind of like trying to, manage the needs of the business with the needs of myself, with the needs of staff, and just to find all that kind of common ground has been a real challenge. So so I really struggled with, and actually making a distinction between, being a leader and being a manager and my different roles, and even operationally. So I have certain roles, operationally, certain roles as a manager, and certain roles as a leader. And I always thought, I really struggle being a leader, but I think I really struggle being a manager. Operationally, okay, I'm pretty good. I can get into like the day-to-day and do tasks, and I can, delegate things more or less. But it's the management of other tasks going on that I struggle with. And then leadership is a whole different game. So business is so multifaceted, especially as an entrepreneur and as it grows. I like to say it's the ultimate like personal development seminar. It's the ultimate, like ashram, where every day, like showing up, you have to challenge yourself to grow, like or some situation comes at you where you have to grow. And that can be, some of the nuts and bolts of like accounting or marketing, but it really is, business is about relationships and dynamics. I mean, I've had anywhere up to 25 staff, and to manage all those moving pieces and parts and everything has really challenged me. But I've always done what I've done, which is, okay, I read books, I watch videos, I go to seminars, just try and learn it as best I can. And the other big part of that too is doing what we do best, or you do best, identifying what that is, and then hiring out and getting others to do what they do best.
Yes, such a wise business approach for sure. So tell us about what have been some of the most rewarding aspects of your experience building the Light Cellar in this business.
Just connecting with people. One of my favorite experiences is just being on the floor and, developing relationships, having customers come in every week or every month, just whatever period it is that we get to see them, knowing them by name. Those relationships. I really love that, as well as teaching. I love learning and then sharing that knowledge. I think one of my challenges is I've come up with a lot of good like concepts and ideas that are good, that people can apply. Right now I'm just working on, a framework. It's kind of been, there's a little this and a little this and a little that. So I want to kind of bring it into a framework that's going to be easy for people to follow. Not in an ABC, but definitely in a way that it covers it all off. But love teaching and sharing, and that I want to continue to grow and focus on.
Yes, great. And that one talk that you gave that I attended, it was really tremendous. And so I definitely think you're on the right path, Malcolm, when it comes to that offering as well.
And again, that comes back to where I started about the heart or the intellect and the intuition, like we talked about with music. With speaking, it's that fine balance between, I know plenty of speakers that are just amazing. They can just get up and just like riff on idea after idea, and it's just kind of the stream of consciousness. We've all seen some really great, well-crafted speeches that follow a structure and a flow. For me, again, it's been about studying that structure and that flow, having somewhat of a natural ability just to kind of, speak stream of consciousness and bringing those together. Music provides that optimal experience. So.
So in all of this, what would you say were like maybe a couple really key nuggets of wisdom that you could offer people who are considering a similar path?
Well, just follow your heart, right? In that sense. And, do it with thought and with logic. I think that's maybe the part that's missing from kind of the, oh, just follow your heart and it'll all turn out well, like
right.
buy cacao powder and sell it for $12 a pound,
Right.
It's always got to be balanced by that.
Yeah.
But and there's many other people on the other side that maybe just too kind of like intellectual that just need to kind of relax and ease up into the heart. I think it's really about
finding balance.
Bridging those two. Being in the world, right? What are some of the problems, challenges that anyone watching has overcome or solved and can see as a gift out to the world and a reflection back? We all have something that we've overcome that someone else is going through with the struggle, and I'm sure this is exactly why you have this podcast, right?
Right. Yes, precisely.
Yeah, you want to share that back. There's and the connections you have. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it really makes a difference when you connect with your heart, in your heart, as to what it is that you want to offer, what inspires you, and then finding a way to solve a problem in the world using that inspiration you feel.
Yeah. And then with the food piece, like one of my angles, I know that not everyone's passion or focus is food, and nor should it be. But what I see my role as is how can I help people, go to that next level without, the years and the time and the money and all that spent trying to get there. So they can get there more quickly and it be a foundation of support for whatever they do. I often say, like, it would make no sense for someone to be building eco homes yet eating McDonald's, right? So how can you elevate your diet to a place that is in alignment, kind of philosophically, practically, and help you be your best self? Foundation of food and then herbs as well for support.
I love the mission. It's great. So you mentioned earlier Gabriel Cousins, and I mean some other people, spiritual teachers and so on, but is there anyone else in your life or on this path that's offered you a lot of inspiration?
Yeah, totally. Been tons and tons of mentors, and some of them, I don't want to say I don't believe in their philosophy anymore, but it served its purpose for its time. It was hugely influential. Yeah, I mentioned some of the names now. Maybe those people don't resonate as much, but it doesn't matter. They were the perfect person for me at that time. And again, whenever I've gotten into their material, be it an author like Stephen Harry Buhner, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to his workshops. I flew to England to go to his very last seminar he ever gave. It was a 5-day workshop. I just knew I had to be there, so I went. It was like totally profound and unbelievable. There was a guy named Peter Ragnar I was into. I bought like every single program he had. I read all of his books, went to, he was a hermit for a number of years. Slowly kind of came out, and I went to at least 2 of his seminars, down in Tennessee, North Carolina. Again, he's not someone that I'm, listening to anymore, but has served its purpose at the time, and there'll be more. And we have, it's wonderful. We have access to so much out there. And when someone resonates, and there's depth, like, go deep.
Definitely. Do you do any practices, Malcolm, like to help keep you really grounded and centered in all of this that's going on? I'm sure you've learned many with all your years, like in ashrams and Vipassana and so on.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you continue with any of those practices?
Yeah, like when I was doing the whole Vipassana thing, there was so much pressure to get your 2 hours a day in. And I, for a while I kept that up, but then, just life changed and it became more about, okay, it's kind of like the idea of yoga on the mat, yoga off the mat. It was much more important versus my 15 minutes on the mat to have that present throughout my day. So though I don't formally sit anymore, obviously I still really see the value, and I want to cultivate that back in, but not in that like strict, I got to do, 2 hours a day and make this a regimen. There's always that, that practice, grounding it in so it does flow through your day. Nature is a big one. So if I can get outside every day, it's very easy to kind of be stuck in the office or the kitchen or whatever. And nature to me is really healing and grounding. So that's another one. I always like to try and get barefoot if I can. Right now, my favorite activity is playing disc golf.
Nice. What do you do in the winter?
So, well, you can play a little bit of disc golf in the winter, depending on the season. But then it's just more about like getting on a walk or a hike. Winter, and then grounding. Like I play disc golf barefoot. I'll do all 18 holes, with no shoes.
Nice.
So I'm outside, I'm in the park, breathing fresh air, I'm moving, and I'm like my bare feet on the ground. And then cold showers. Those are a good one too. Do those year round.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people getting into that therapy.
Yeah. Even just for a moment, right? It can super shift your day.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Just a couple more questions for you, Malcolm. We are getting close to the end of the hour, but any particular guidance you would offer to anyone else out there who might be looking for some inspiration from someone like you?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of it. Like, and if it is me directly, like reach out. I think that's the big thing, right? Is if you find someone who is, part of that golden thread, connect with them, reach out. That mentorship idea, going to the source, going deep. We really are living in such an amazing time where we can create our own reality. It's no longer go to school, get a good job. It's, and it's not one singular path. We have the opportunity to explore so many other areas. And if you are becoming an entrepreneur, you already know, or you'll very quickly know that the skills you need to have are quite vast. And there's so many amazing resources out there, from websites to books to videos to, connecting with someone live in person. And a mentor and a coach can be totally invaluable. Even just for pure accountability, that alone is huge, but obviously for much deeper levels of just kind of guidance and wisdom and experience. So find a mentor, go connect with them in any way you can.
Yes, thank you. So just to complete the hour, tell us about the Light Cellar, in terms of specific offerings you have there. You've expanded recently, so maybe you can talk a little bit about that, and then share with everybody whatever it is you want to share about your public speaking.
Yeah, okay, for sure.
Opportunities for you to come out and offer your story.
All right, cool. Yeah, so Light Cellar, we're on Main Street, Bowness. We have a shop with over, I don't know how many different unique items, 1,200, something like that, things you can't find anywhere in the city.
What's your weirdest thing that you have in the shop?
Well, it depends on who you are, what you've always insects are always one that turn people's heads, like ants, which are trending a bit right now.
Right.
Consider a herb in Chinese medicine. We have a lot of fermented foods that we make in-house as well. Fermented hot sauce. There's a supplier we have that makes natto, which is a unique ferment as well.
Okay.
And
sounds intriguing.
Yeah, within our production kitchens, we're making the ferments, we're making chocolate from scratch, we're doing all kinds of other treats and desserts and things. And I'm just working on a new menu item that'll be a savory option. So food, we've been definitely lacking on lots of wonderful treats, things you can take home, but in terms of like a sit down, have a snack, have a meal, I'm working on that right now. So stay tuned.
I absolutely love your nut cheese with the beet and the dill.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So, we have lots going on, as well as the elixir bar and our teaching kitchen. So we have a class calendar. Anytime you can go to lightcellar.ca and then hit workshops and a full list. We learn from at least 1 to 4 classes a week. Myself or another instructor. We have online videos, huge selection on YouTube. And again, that how and that why of food and nutrition, what I like to call the easy upgrades. So things you can easily add in to your life that will help just upgrade who you are and what you're doing. And then we recently opened a second location down in Inglewood within Bite Grocer. So we have a kind of a pop-up shop there with a full elixir bar and a selection of our products. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'm really excited to see this expansion of your business into other
For
parts
sure.
of the city.
Yeah, totally. Slowly growing. You know, the mandate has always been, despite the requests for second locations and franchising this and that, has just been, you know, to do what we do well. Because I know, you know, if we grow too much, you know, things will be compromised and all. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so finally, sorry, was there more you wanted to say about?
Yeah, that's all good. And then I was just gonna maybe follow on what you were gonna mention. So I've had this sense that I've been wanting to share my journey and some of the, you know, my learnings along the way of running a business. So I've developed a talk called Peace, Love, and the Bottom Line. I've been sharing that out. So first time was in April, and I've done it a few more times since in different places, in Edmonton and in BC. Next date is September or October at the ATV Entrepreneur Center, although probably there'll be more cropping up. So that'll slowly kind of grow and get out there. Been doing some speaking and possibly entertain the idea of maybe some group coaching as well. So
wonderful. Yes. I really love the title of your talk, Peace, Love, and the Bottom Line. It really says a lot about how business and really caring for people and leading with heart, they don't have to be two separate things. They can come together as one in unity. And you've been a really wonderful, from what I can see from the outside in, a really wonderful leader where that's concerned. So
great.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Malcolm. I really appreciate so much your time today and having you come in for an interview with me on this program. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out there really inspired by what you have to say.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot.
So thank you.